she gonna marry me, but she run away. She promised she'd be faithful to me. Man, she scheme on me. She take all my money. She took my car, my virginity. She got that now. I'm turning crazy. I can't even sleep. Don't want nothing to eat. I don't want nothing to drink. Should listen to mommy. Should listen to Bobby. Now this girl don't take my ring. I nearly married the garden. 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 Lose me. Somebody whine, come on, Colin. Somebody do this for me. Somebody whine, 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 whine. Somebody shake, 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 shake. Go down, go down, go down, go down. Come up, 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 up. Somebody whine, 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 whine. Somebody shake, 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 shake. Go down, go down, go down, go down, go down, go down. Boy, y'all better be sweating out there. Huh? Yeah, yeah. Come on, higher level. But once you play it again, here we go. Yeah. Listen. Once I had this girl, she cost me pain. Left me in the cold and the pouring rain. So I decided to put her down, good Lord. I took a trip to Boy Town. There I met this gal named Ada Bain. She was in the field cutting cane. She looked so good, I press her eyes, good Lord. When I look into her big brown eye, that's when I said, look what you could get when you're tired of what you got. Look what you could get when you're tired of what you got. Since I'm a woman, look good and that's a fact. Look what you could get when you beat a girl like that. Hey, break it quick, break it quick, break it quick, let's go, break it quick, come on, break it quick. Yo, we go on Bay Street right now. Let's go, here we go. We know y'all been missing Christmas and jumping for a while, but we all take y'all down Bay Street, Russell Square, Shirley Street. We going down Bay Street. Get that good old junkanoo.
Coming up tonight, police have 2 men in custody for that double shooting on Andros, which left a German man dead. Also, an island-wide manhunt is underway for the culprit or culprits responsible for a brazen daylight murder in Nassau this afternoon.
But it's difficult to say who the assailants are, if they came in a vehicle, if they were on foot. It's still early in this investigation.
And later, it's Public Service Week, but the Public Service Union president says he's been shared out of an invite. The Public Service State Minister responds. This is Eyewitness News, and it starts now.
Eyewitness News is linked up by BTC. Whether it's chatting, gaming, content creating, or working smart to get things done, link up to stay connected with BTC.
2 men accused of shooting a German man to death on Andros were flown to the capital today. Eyewitness News was the only station on the ground. Good evening, everyone. I'm Theo Seeley. Thanks so much for joining us. Topping news tonight, police wasting no time arresting 2 men they say shot and killed a German man in Camps Bay, Andros on Wednesday night. Now, while investigations into that killing are still in the preliminary stages, we've been made to understand that it was an armed robbery that turned deadly. The sting of the German man's death now lingering over Camps Bay and the wider community tonight. Our Devontae Hanna was not only on the ground canvassing that community yesterday, but also flew back to the capital this morning on the same flight of the 2 suspects police nabbed for the killing. He takes it from here in tonight's top story.
57-year-old Torsten Hendricks arrived at his family's summer home in Camps Bay, Andros, just a week ago along with his father, Reynold Hendricks, and uncle Wolfgang Hendricks. But just 48 hours before he was scheduled to leave, the German man was brutally murdered by a masked gunman. Now, today, police arresting two men that they want to question and have brought them to the capital. But the shocking death now casting a pall over the tranquil island.
The folks who may have just moved there still recognize them maybe only as the Germans, but they knew who they were, you know, and they represented that connectivity to the world to us.
Oh man, it's sickening, and they even make me feel ashamed that I'm from Andros. We expect things like that in Nassau and Freeport, you know, but not in Andros.
The double shooting has left the quaint settlement shaken as authorities begin their efforts to help residents cope with the unprecedented incident.
And so one of the things that we're going to be doing right away is a prayer initiative. We're calling all of the people together as a prayer vigil of remembrance of not just focus on what happened itself, but how do we heal and move forward.
The prayers are much needed, according to the island administrator, who believes the wave of crime in country is progressively getting worse, as this year's homicide count steadily creeps closer to last year's count of 119.
To be able to pray for not only this situation, but to cover our South Andros and the whole entire Commonwealth of the Bahamas, because it must stop. It must stop, and it will stop here in South Andros.
The incident now raising concern for not only residents but police, who, according to Assistant Commissioner of Police responsible for Family Islands, B.K. Barnaby Jr., will be putting more boots on the ground.
So this is a big concern for this island. The residents of this island are peaceful persons, so there's some concerns. Okay, you know, we have been dealing with international persons, foreigners who are being killed.
And for residents on the island who nightly sleep with their doors and windows open.
It changed the way that I really would suspect any strangers coming around, and to be looking out at night at anyone who I see looting my area or hanging in the area or loafing. I would take notice that they're not my personal friends.
And I would hope that it never happen again.
The last homicide to occur in Andros was back in 2013 when a man was accused of kidnapping and murdering his immigration officer girlfriend. Now, residents hope that this recent incident is the last of its kind on the island.
Meantime, back here in the capital, the crime wave continues to mushroom with yet another brazen daylight killing today. Shots rang out in the Southern Shores constituency this afternoon. Police tell us that a man believed to be in his late 20s to early 30s was gunned down on Palm Breeze Road. Today's killing has bumped the country's murder count to 115 for the year. Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson was on the scene to give media the details.
Persons in this neighborhood heard gunshots. They came out to investigate and met a vehicle in the middle of the street. There was a male in the vehicle who appeared to be suffering from a gunshot injury to the upper body. EMS personnel were called. They checked that body and found no signs of life. Again, the police are appealing to members of this community. If they have seen anything that they believe can assist in this investigation, you can contact the police.
The vehicle did not appear to be damaged, but the victim appeared to have gunshot wounds to his upper extremities. He also notes that unlike many homicides this year, the victim is not known to police. Investigations into this matter continue. Amid a wave of serious crimes, there are increased calls for those in authority to revise legislation to ensure that perpetrators face the harshest penalties. But government officials say that's not the issue. Our Jose Etienne is on the story tonight.
Despite increased calls from the public for the judiciary to implement more severe penalties for individuals and repeat offenders who commit serious crimes, National Security Minister Wayne Monroe contends that there are already harsh laws on the books.
Barbados is passing some law about a mandatory minimum 10 years for an offense involving guns, maximum 20 years. Because that was put to me by the police. I had to point out to them that in the Bahamas, an offense involving a firearm like armed robberies, the entering tariff set by our courts is 10 years. The upper end of the tariff isn't 20 years as they're proposing in Barbados, but you generally get it 20 to 25 years routinely.
According to Monroe, the Bahamas is at the top of its game as it relates to punishing criminals.
When I served as a judge, if you came before me for armed robbery, if you pleaded guilty, you got 10 years. If you were convicted, the starting entry to the tariff was 15 years. We have very high sentences in the Bahamas. We imprison people at 10 times the rate of our neighbors. And so this reaction is unwarranted.
However, several months ago, the public criticized the courts after a 40-year-old man was sentenced to 4 years in prison after impregnating a 14-year-old girl. Many residents feeling as though the accused should have received more jail time. Meanwhile, Monroe's comments come as the nation is grappling with an upswing in murder and other serious crimes, partly stemming from a backlog in criminal cases, resulting in alleged criminals who are out on bail committing other serious offenses as they await trial.
Where we have to improve is getting the matters to trial and getting results. It's pointless to have a law that you get 40 years in prison if you never get to the end of the trial. And so I'm satisfied that the penalty levels are fine because the courts will set the tariffs in any event. What we're seeking to address is to move to improve trial times.
Noted defense attorney Christina Galanos also arguing that the courts have to be more efficient with trying cases.
We need to, as a country, aim to reduce the amount of time in which persons are being tried from being arrested to being tried within a period of 2 to 3 years. We have to do it. That's the only way. If we don't do it, we're gonna continue to have a serious problem.
Monroe says swift justice is a priority for the Davis administration.
The previous PLP administration saw a value to swift justice. We continue to see a value to swift justice. We think it's worth the investment, although those other fellas didn't. And so we're seeking to return to swift justice where criminal elements can see in a reasonable period of time the penalty for what they do.
Jose Etienne, Eyewitness News.
Well, there is currently brewing tension within the Public Service Commission as 2 of its executive members are reportedly refusing to let go of their posts. Sources within the Public Service Ministry telling Eyewitness News this evening that the Governor General, His Excellency C.A. Smith, issued letters of revocation to 4 members of the board. We are told that 2 of the members resigned while 2 of the remaining members refused to step down. The issue at hand is that contract extensions were reportedly handed out to a number of commission board members just days ahead of the 2021 general election, a move which government officials say should have never happened. Now, the contracts handed out under the former minister administration were to have expired as of October 21st, 2022. As it stands, the 2 remaining commission members who reportedly refused to step down have been named by our source as Commission Director Teresa Delaveau and Attorney Malcolm Adderley. Delaveau reportedly showed up to work yesterday for business as usual, but we are told by staffers that they refused to work with her. We also understand that she reportedly still holds the keys for a government vehicle, which she also reportedly has refused to turn over. Workers within the Public Service Ministry say the refusal of both commission members has stalled the work of the commission. At this point, the matter has been given to the Attorney General Ryan Pinder to handle. This is a developing story that Eyewitness News will continue to follow. As the Ministry of Public Service marks the end of the Public Service Week 2022, unions turned out in mass numbers today to participate in the annual Public Service Float Parade in New Providence. We managed to catch some of the fun and excitement on the sidelines today as unions representing various sectors marched and danced throughout the streets. The parade started at Weston Esplanade and made its way to Prospect Ridge, John F. Kennedy Drive, University Boulevard, onto Meeting Street, and back to Weston Esplanade. Public Service State Minister Pia Glover Roll telling Eyewitness News today that it was great to see so many union members participate in the annual event.
Representation from every government ministry was on the street today celebrating themselves. They were celebrating themselves, so I was happy to be a part of it, to be able to celebrate with them. And of course, the parade has been gone for a while. Even pre-pandemic, the parade hadn't happened. So this is a special one. You could tell by the energy that was out there today. The time I spent in the public service, I participated in the National Public Service Week Parade, and it's always a great time of celebration and camaraderie and seeing the ministries come together as a family, per se. The effort that these workers put in every day to move the government's agenda forward. We are fortunate, I feel fortunate to have and witness so many committed and selfless and stellar workers in the public service.
While hundreds participated in the culmination of Public Service Week today, there was one face that was notably on the sidelines. President of the Bahamas Public Services Union, Kingsley Ferguson, is tonight castigating government officials after he says the BPSU was not invited to participate in the week-long activities. It's an issue that he says speaks to the deteriorating relationship between government and the Public Service Union.
Public Service Week was Sunday. The president of the Public Service Union was not invited to Public Service Week. We have received no communication. This is an indication of the kind of relationship that the union enjoys with the employee representatives in this country. We will begin to rally up the troops because there are concerns that we have in the public service. We have some stuff that the court reporters need addressed. We have some stuff that the finance and accounting officers need to address. I am appealing to public service everywhere. Monday at 6 p.m., all road leads to East Street South, the Bahamas Public Service Union Hall. We will take a stand.
Well, the Public Service State Minister Pia Glover-Roll telling Eyewitness News this afternoon that Ferguson's claims are unfounded, and she had more to say on the matter.
The president of the Bahamas Public Service Union, I did see him on the sidelines. The parade was open to all public service ministries, agencies, departments, and these are the members that make up the Bahamas Public Service Union. They were on the parade in large numbers. And of course, if President Ferguson would have liked to join in appreciation, in recognition, in celebration of those public servants that he represents across the nation, he was absolutely welcome to join in. I saw him standing on the sidelines. But today, and in fact this week, National Public Service Week is about the workers. And if he supports the workers, then he should have joined the parade as opposed to sitting on the sideline.
Well, in other news tonight, government announcing that they've reached a reasonable concession with grocers. This according to Minister of Economic Affairs Michael Halkitis. He says the price controls will allow for greater margins than what was gazetted last month on certain items.
We published the order. We got some communication from them. One of their main concerns was being able to have a little bit of a cushion for perishables, things like meats and vegetables. So because meats and fruits and vegetables, things that non-dry goods, perishables. And so their issue was there's a potential for loss, and there's experience of loss with perishables, shelf life and that sort of thing. So they wanted a slight increase in the margin for perishables, which we agreed to do, 5%. And then they wanted a slight increase for Family Islands to cover transportation.
The Retail Grocers Association previously argued that government's 38 items added to the price control basket was actually 38 categories and would affect more than 5,000 items in their inventory. Minister Halkitis reveals that the grocers had other demands, but he says government feels as if the 5% concession is enough at this time.
They had some other issues. That is what we felt we could do at this time, and so we fully expect them to comply with those regulations. In the case of the groceries, those are 6 months. And again, as with the pharmacies, as we go through this period, what we want to do is explore ways that we can have a more longer-term solution than these temporary measures. Now, having said that, I'm not certain that it is the position of the entirety of the industry that they are refusing, or if that was, maybe the position of one person. So I don't want to put that on the entirety of the industry.
Meantime, President of the Bahamas Pharmacy Association, Shantia McBride, telling Eyewitness News that value-added tax is currently a thorn in the flesh for pharmacy operators as they also deal with inflation. Her comments coming after a back and forth with the association and government after the association decried the price control amendments, further claiming that it could cut deep into their profit margins. Now, while government and the BPA have come to a mutual agreement, she says changes to the price control list would be more well received if officials relieve pharmacy operators of having to pay VAT.
VAT is a considerable increase to margins, when, especially for wholesalers. When you have the import in, you have duty, then you have VAT after that. So prices could be considerably dropped if VAT is removed. So that's our first, especially if it's for a short time frame like they did this 3 months. The VAT holiday may have brought about that change better than just dropping margins.
Though we're living in challenging economic times, the real estate industry may present opportunities for you to build wealth. Now, if this has piqued your interest, our Leah Cooper has more details in this report for you tonight.
Though stubborn global inflation and the United States Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes have experts predicting that a recession is on the horizon next year, real estate expert Matt Sweeting says the Bahamas real estate market is a lot more resilient than others, despite predictions of the U.S. market potentially crashing.
And by resilience, I mean that if there's a thought that we might see a considerable reduction in sales prices into 2023 is unlikely. Right? We can use the 2008 recession as historical data, and that proved that the resilience of the Bahamas real estate market.
Sweeting says he believes we may see more of an impact on the tourism industry, adding that if tourism dollars slow down, despite what he labels ambitious projections into next year, it will naturally have an effect on our local market. This, however, can create better opportunities for prospective homeowners.
And what that might mean for locals is that there may be a little bit more room for negotiation than there was before. So hypothetically, a property that might have been listed at $200,000, when the negotiation room might have been $5,000 or $10,000 before, it might be $10,000 or $20,000 in a recessed market.
He adds that this calls for Bahamians, if a recession is indeed looming, to be more intentional financially.
So if real estate is the ambition, real estate ownership that is, then we need to kind of constrain our dollars more. We need to be a little bit more concerned about how we're spending those discretionary funds. So maybe you eat out less, maybe you go out less, right? If you own or have a mortgage already, talk to your bank about, hey, what is the policies within my mortgage for missing a payment, for deferring a payment?
No, it's a widespread belief that millionaires are made in recessions, and Sweeting explains how we can use these challenging economic times as a come-up.
There is a strong likelihood that there are going to be opportunities in repossessions. There is now, but there might be an even greater opportunity to do so then. I would suggest connecting with a real estate professional who is aware of what's happening in the market, of where the deals are, right? And so that scenario played out might be, hey, there's considerable return on investment potential in Carmichael, in Stapleton, in gated communities in the West.
That said, he adds that cash is always king.
We know that you having considerable liquidity is going to be a considerable factor in your ability to win a bid, make a purchase, and obviously get a mortgage as well.
A few months ago, Eyewitness News reported that Bahamians living on minimum wage would have to work an estimated 130-hour work week to afford rent here in New Providence. This shocking reality is stacked up against the fact that the average Bahamian has less than $1,000 in savings. Minimum wage was recently increased by $50 in the public sector. However, government officials have acknowledged that that rise is still not enough. Leah Cooper, Eyewitness News.
On the heels of health professionals in the private sector warning that government must not crash private health care with its proposed national health insurance reforms, Minister of Health Dr. Michael Darville says the NHI 2022 bill is still up for debate, and the way forward, he says, is still up for discussion.
You don't want to put anyone in a chokehold. That's the reason why the bill goes out to consultation. The consultation began with the Medical Association. The bill was laid in Parliament, and more consultation will take place. I'm certain that NHI and the authority will reach out to those physicians who have more concerns, and we will go back to the table to find the solution that's in the best interest of the Bahamian people.
According to Minister of Health and Wellness, the new NHI bill represents the Davis administration's commitment to healthcare reform and will pave the way towards universal healthcare for Bahamians. Dr. Darville reiterates that he has every intention of meeting the promises made in the PLP's blueprint for change and hopes for cooperation from all sectors.
But I want to make it very clear that in our blueprint for change, we made it very clear that in this term in office, this administration intends to launch catastrophic healthcare insurance, while at the same time improving the delivery of healthcare systems and to advance our primary healthcare component of NHI. Those things are going to happen, and so we expect everyone to work along with us, because we are of the view that when all of us come together in a shared mode and use our resources more effectively, we can do a lot more in the country.
If you've got a news tip or if you've seen news in the making, call the Eye on News hotline at 397-6397. We also invite you to send your letters to the editor for publication on all of our social media platforms at eyewitnessnewsbahamas@gmail.com. And if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please share your thoughts about today's stories in the comments section. We want to hear from you. Well, still to come in Eyewitness News tonight, government laying bills in Parliament this week that will make way for a new umbrella agency to deal with disaster management. We'll tell you exactly how this will affect government's ability to better respond to natural disasters. And later, corporal punishment, spare the rod or spoil the child. It's a popular Bahamian saying, but will beating affect your child's mental health? We've got more on that right after this break.
This segment of the news is sponsored by Corona, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Welcome back. Here's a look at your Eyewitness News gas tracker for today. Esso standing at $6.07 per gallon. Rubis sitting at $5.96, and Shell coming in at $5.88 per gallon. Welcome back. Government aggressively moving forward with an agenda to better regulate how it handles and responds to natural disasters. Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for disaster preparedness management and reconstruction, Miles Lorota, sharing recently that he laid some very important disaster risk management bills in the lower chamber this week. Now, according to the minister, they will govern how the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, the DRA, will merge. The two entities currently deal with risk management in country separately, but once a new bill is passed, everything will now come under one umbrella.
We are moving towards having an aggressive 12-month-a-year agency What we also noticed in the past was that you had NEMA, you had DRA, so you had overlapping institutions. You had people basically doing the same things and agencies not really talking to each other, and that's not on the personal level, it's just there were too many silos. The new agency will be an agency that will be much more agile, that will be much more adaptive.
He says the formation of this new legislation and umbrella agency will also position government to have access to major international funding for projects that the Davis administration would like to undertake.
To be able to take monies from these institutions, you have to have an institutional and a legislative regime that is in compliance with the other countries of the world. We have some islands of the Bahamas that have inadequate hurricane shelters. There was at least one island that was identified that did not have a shelter that meets the standards. So we have had, this year we got a UNDP, I think the Indian government donated $1 million towards the construction of the center in Abaco. What we're looking at, and part of the reason we are doing this now, is that to qualify for the IDB loan, we have to have the regime in place before the end of the year. And so there's a time constraint. But apart from the construction of, or assistance in the construction of facilities, you're also talking about equipment.
In other news tonight, Prime Minister Philip Davis and the leader of the opposition Free National Movement, Michael Pintard, clashing yesterday in the House of Assembly over the Bahamas Power and Light Fuel Hedge program. Now, the clash came as a result of a letter written by former BPL Chief Executive Officer Whitney Hastie last October to Works Minister Alfred Sears regarding the program. Now, throughout the row, the nation's chief sought to stand up for his cabinet colleague.
One, the member for Fort Charlotte, who did deny, but we now all know, all of us in here know, he was advised on the hedge program. The considerations that went into structuring and implementation of this program, how the program works, and the results to date. The results to date I've mentioned already. The results to date, let me, give me some time. The results today is $25 million. And that if the program had continued, it's $55 million. The chair recognizes
that was laid?
Yes.
By you?
And the letters to be laid, yes, sir. Yeah,
No, I talk about the letter that was laid.
Yes, sir.
That letter had nothing, all that did was set out the circumstances about the hedging program. It did not, if you look at even just read the first paragraph of that letter. Just read the first paragraph of the letter, and then you'll see what that letter was all about.
Thank you, Honourable Member.
It had no recommendations. It had no recommendations.
Well, the dust eventually settled on that argument, but Pintard returned with another blow during his presentation on the House floor. Now, he claimed that the Progressive Liberal Party is a shadow of its former self, and he took a jab at the Davis-Cooper administration and what they've been doing since taking office while debating the increase of minimum wage.
And they have attempted to sell a false narrative that they are the party for the struggling and vulnerable Bahamians. When the reality is, this Progressive Liberal Party is a shadow of its former self. And the things they identify are those things that would have been done when we were pursuing independence, when we obtained majority rule, and many of us participated in the process of forming a number of these institutions and support it. And so they are a shadow of their former selves. This debate is an example. Minimum wage, again, introduced by the Free National Movement, amended and improved by the Free National Movement, continued by the PLP, which is a wonderful thing.
Pintard further argued that the FNM has been supportive of the Davis administration since taking office, adding that the opposition has been offering constructive criticism.
They lack balance in their willingness to apportion credit, but they are exceptionally good at apportioning blame. No less than the member for Cat Island, Rum Kingston Salvador, goes to the University of the Bahamas and omits the contribution of 2 prime ministers that came from the FNM, one of whom had 3 non-consecutive terms, made monumental contributions with the cabinets the various boards appointed, and was not acknowledged. But we've been in this House, a new group of leaders, and we have demonstrated a willingness to be balanced. We've demonstrated a willingness to be constructive, but it makes no difference to this version of the Progressive Liberal Party.
Shifting gears tonight, a recent University of the Bahamas study explored how religious influence impacts the way Bahamians discipline their children, now the vast majority of them opting for corporal punishment. Well, our Leah Cooper spoke to a local psychiatrist who outlines how this form of punishment may impact children's mental health in the long term. Here's that report.
The country's high rate of violence against women and children may directly be related to the way we discipline our children. This much coming from Dr. Eldrika Richardson, CEO of Richardson Psychotherapeutic and Consulting Limited, who says we tend to mimic the way in which our parents and guardians discipline us, classifying a potentially abusive act as love.
And this is why there are actual rules and laws to protect children from any type of abusive household, because we know that modeling happens, and what modeling does psychologically is that you tend to go and you follow or look for those same patterns in your relationships when you become an adult, because you know no better.
Now, a recently published study by the University of the Bahamas found that Christian households particularly endorsed the use of corporal punishment, while non-Christian households did not. A small percentage of those who participated in the study even calling for the act to be made illegal. Now, while most Bahamians, including Social Services Minister Obi Wolshcombe, believe an occasional spanking was instrumental in their personal development, Dr. Richardson says there's nothing wrong with certain levels of punishment depending on what you're trying to teach your child.
However, there are certain forms of punishment that are also abuse, and that people need to know the difference between them. And so when you're talking about severe punishment where people are taking out, still being beaten with like belt hooks or wires, and I've heard those recently from stories of clients, those create long-term psychological effects and trauma responses.
She adds that she finds a lot of people who have grown up under abusive conditions often don't understand that it's a form of psychological control.
Which again is not healthy. If that is the only way that you can get your child to respond or behave, then there may be something actually wrong with your parenting and not the child itself.
That said, she suggests more healthy avenues of disciplining kids in this day and age, while acknowledging that every child is created differently, and so should the way parents decide to discipline them.
Some forms that tend to work now, especially as we are in the electronic era of kids, is by taking their electronic devices for them. One of the things I recommend to parents, the younger children, usually the ones under 6, if you start very early, they do respond well to timeout. As kids get older, I encourage parents to talk to their kids about consequences and have them be a part of the decision-making and consequences so that they understand what will lead to this and how can I avoid this behavior, so that it's constant communication between a parent and a child.
Leah Cooper, Eyewitness News.
Well, still to come in Eyewitness News tonight, are you a young Bahamian looking to build your credit but have no idea where to begin? Well, we've got some tips ahead in the evening edition to tell you just how to get that done. But first, here's a check on tonight's weather forecast.
by J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
You're looking at live pictures over the mall at Marathon tonight, where the temperature is right around 79 degrees with an expected dip to 73. This is Eyewitness News. Welcome back. The month of November has been officially declared National Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Month, or MSME Month. That's businesses that earn less than $5 million annually and employ less than 50 people. Now, according to Small Business Development Center Communications Manager Michaela Munnings, most Bahamian-owned businesses fall under that category, and this month has a host of activities for business owners or prospective business owners to take advantage of.
We wanted to especially include the Family Islands, of course, because we don't want them to feel left out in this national initiative. So we kick off this weekend on the island of Andros. We're having something called Brunch and Business, where business owners in Andros will gather together, and we'll be having a networking opportunities, as well as we will be doing presentations to them to provide them with the tools and the resources to help their businesses thrive, especially during hard economic times.
The SBDC intends to continue island hopping throughout the month in an effort to reach as many businesses as possible.
So we have an event on the island of Eleuthera called the Master Meetup on November 9th. On the 17th of November on the island of Long Island, that will be our final business outlook for the year. So that's pretty exciting. And then we have something called Mix, Mingle, and Market in Abaco. We close out the month with our business forum in New Providence. That's going to be held at the Warwick Hotel. And on November 30th, we're going to have something called MSME Honors.
Well, building credit and maintaining a good credit history are key steps towards building your financial future. Our Laurencia Smith spoke with a financial specialist on the importance of building your credit. You won't have to wait any longer for those details. Here she is with that report tonight.
In today's economy, it's important to establish credit while you're young, as a good credit score is the key to securing your first mortgage, car, and loan. Eyewitness News spoke to Fidelity CEO Galwin Bowe and Managing Director of the Bank of the Bahamas, Kendrick Brathwaite, who underscored the importance of building your credit.
So we often start worrying about credit when we need credit, as opposed to saying, well, whilst I may still be living at home, whilst I may still have a support system around me, how do I start to build evidence of my credit worthiness?
Because right now, the only way you can build credit is to have credit.
Bowe says the Bahamas does not have a universal credit score as yet like the U.S. and the UK. However, it will come to fruition someday through the Credit Bureau. The Bureau was formally launched within the last 2 years.
To allow is an accumulation of your credit practices of the past. Some of us will shudder when we think about that. Others will actually say, well, I'm able to separate myself from those persons who are less disciplined.
Brathwaite says long gone the days when persons could rely on family guarantors for credit.
Build your credit. In the absence of that, you really need to have, years ago, I used to say when I'm giving advice to young kids is that, you go to a bank for a small loan, something real small that will give you no challenges, and you pay it off. And as you do that, you actually build history within the system.
There's such a thing as bad credit?
For the wrong reasons. And there's a tremendous amount of that. So if we're borrowing money to go on vacation, if we're borrowing money to buy Christmas gifts, if we're borrowing money so that we could have a baller weekend, like we see people do, that is negative credit. Because the reality is, after the party done, nothing left, right? So you have debt to pay, but you have nothing to show for it.
Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Well, still to come in Eyewitness News, the latest with sports updates from our Devontae. Hannah Devontae, what can you tell us?
Well, good evening, Theo. The UB Mingos are getting pretty busy. We have just some of the details right after this.
Everyone hates a dead car battery. Why not get a battery that lasts and has a
This segment of the news is brought to you by Hennessy, the spirit of sports in the Bahamas.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Eyewitness Sports. I'm Devontae Hanna. Well, Equestrian Bahamas achieving a milestone this past weekend as the Bahamas became the third country after Jamaica and Barbados to obtain certification of completion officials from the Caribbean Equestrian Association, while also holding the inaugural Bahamas leg for the CEA Mini Jumping Challenge. A total of 15 riders taking part in the competition, which featured 3 different classes, according to the French's Heights results, were tallied for individuals in each class and for the Bahamas as a team, and they will then be ranked against the riders from other CEA member islands. The MJC is run in each CEA member country over the course of the calendar year, after which overall results from the region are tallied and awards are distributed. Meantime, the UB Mingos put their undefeated record on the line Wednesday night in Bahamas Football Association action against the Future Stars. The Mingos came in 4-0 but let the Stars first score. Midfielder Morgan Wood answered with his own goal in the 14th minute to even the game at 1-1. Then midfielder Ronaldo Green took the Mingos ahead with a brilliant goal in the 41st minute. Now, the Mingos defense took over and was able to head into the break, still up 2-1. The strong Mingo defense continued in the second half, including some great saves from keeper Josh Dames. Now, the Mingos did hold on to win 2-1 and stay undefeated in the league at 5-0. Assistant coach Adam Miller said the match lived up to the expectations of his team and the coaching staff.
So we expected to win. We expected a few more chances. We had clearly more chances than they did, but we didn't put our chances away in this particular game. I wouldn't say that we expected to be close. What we expected from the opposition was how they played. They're very fast, very dynamic. They play very direct, and so we had to account and adjust for the speed of play that they brought to the game.
The UB Mingos also taking on the Strikers in New Providence Volleyball Association action this week. The Mingos again struggled to get started but gave the veteran Strikers team a run for their money. The Mingos led by as much as 6 points at 13-7, but the Strikers fought back and it came down to deuce. The Mingos team got close again but lost the first set 25-23. The set took a lot out of the team, it seems, as they weren't able to come back with the same fire as in the first set and dropped the set at 25-8. Now, the Mingos were able to get a bit closer in the third, but still dropped that set 25-13 and ultimately lost the match in 3 sets. Head coach Raymond Wilson said the first set loss seriously impacted the team.
That's the danger of playing so hard in the first set. We should have won that set. That would have made a big difference in the game. The ladies went back into the game and they just was out of it. You know, I don't know if they was broken or whatever situation, but I am very disappointed in how we responded in the last 2 sets. We're a far better team than we displayed those last 2 sets. So it's a hurtful loss for me, and I'm hoping that going forward that the ladies will pick it up.
Well, that's Ticket Sports. Once again, I'm Devontae Hanna. Stay tuned, though. We've got more news right after this.
Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. Well, as nights get colder and as you sit down with a warm cup of tea, one business is making sure that you have the perfect slice of banana bread to go with it. Our Tyler Simonet has a story of nothing but bananas in this week's edition of Trending with Tyler.
While the pandemic had most people testing out their baking skills, one stay-at-home wife discovered the recipe to happiness in every bite. Monique Roll's homemade banana bread became so highly sought after that she took the plunge and started her own business this July.
Initially, it was to meet a need that we had. My husband loved banana bread, and so I had to find a way to make banana bread. And I did just that. Made banana bread. I've had opportunities to for other persons to taste it, and someone said to me, "Well, why don't you just sell this?" And I'm like, "But I only do this because it's something I love," and that's the genesis of it. I was a homemaker, and like I said, I always baked, and that's how it started, just from that.
Nothing But Banana does not only offer their original classic banana bread, but a variety of toppings, flavors, and swirls if you're feeling for something a little extra.
Specialize in banana bread. Our taste, our texture, flavors, we offer different flavors. So that's one of our defining differences. We offer anything from our classic coconut, a coconut cran, we do a banana nut crunch, we do a banana chocolate swirl, chocolate chip, and then we also offer something that's called Banana My Way, where our clients get to choose the flavors that they'd like in their banana bread.
Due to the pressures of inflation, Roll admits they had to slightly increase their prices. However, she explains it wasn't just so her business could make more profit.
Well, in essence, it's not only profit-driven, but as well, we want to still give the same quality that our customers have become accustomed to. We want to still be able to use the same amount of ingredients, the same quality ingredients. And in order to do that, we know the prices have gone up. And so to that effect, we had to also ensure that our prices reflected that so we can continue to give our clients what they've become accustomed to.
Be sure to check out Nothing But Banana on Facebook, Instagram, or give them a call at 428-4038. Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Well, listen to me. I had some of that banana bread, and it is really, really good. Thanks for that report, Tyler. Well, up next, we have our Cash and Go tip, and you'll also stay tuned for Beyond the Headlines with host Shanique Miller. That's coming up after the Cash and Go tip. Thank you so much for listening to Eyewitness News tonight. It's certainly been a pleasure having you in our company. I'm Theo Seeley. Before I go tonight, I want to say a special thank you to the production team for, sticking it out with me for the past 3 days, filling in for Janaea. Always a pleasure working with you guys. To everyone watching tonight, have a safe and enjoyable weekend.
Hey, our clients can now purchase gift cards for their special person right in their mobile wallet. It's easy. Simply log in, select the Gift Now option on the home screen. Then select from a wide range of international gift cards and click Send. Clients can either purchase a gift card for personal use or transfer to a friend for an occasion. We have fan favorites in our selection like Amazon, Walmart, Bath & Body, Apple, Nintendo gift cards, and more. Log into your Cash and Go mobile wallet and purchase a gift card today. Trust me, they're gonna like it.
production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
From Camps Bay Andros, tonight we hear from residents and their thoughts on that deadly shooting. Also tonight, we talk to the Department of Social Services and their new focus on the family, and also an event on Sunday, a women's event. They'll talk about that as well. And the Ministry of Youth is here to talk about the National Youth Guard. Good evening. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's great to have you along this evening. The small community of Camps Bay in South Andros still in shock tonight as residents try to get a grip of the violence that rocked the 300-member community on Camps Bay. You will remember a German resident was shot and killed Wednesday evening in the presence of his father and uncle. The community, who came to love the family, is speaking out and sharing their thoughts with Eyewitness News reporter Devontae Hanna. And Devontae is just back from Andros, and I'm very, very happy that he's able to join us here on Beyond the Headlines this evening. Devontae, good evening to you. Welcome to the show. You helped us out last night from the island, and you're at the desk this evening. It's really good to see you.
Thank you so much. It's good to be back home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're always kind of jumping in for us, and we're very happy for that. But it's so sad and unfortunate about the situation in Camps Bay. Very small community, still one of those authentic communities in the Bahamas that remains relatively untouched. Just tell us about the mindset that you found on the ground, how people are feeling after that deadly shooting Wednesday evening.
Shanique, speaking of how small the community is, Camps Bay has about 300 people. The island itself has about 7,000 people. From we landed on Thursday morning in Mangrove Key, residents were shaken. Residents were shocked. And even though that was miles away from where the incident happened, everyone was just sort of uneasy about what transpired, knowing that, just friends were gathered at a home and a masked gunman. How often do you hear something like that?
Listen, you don't hear it, Devontae, and that's still what's so troubling. And to hear, even yesterday when we spoke with you and you told us about it, we spoke with the island administrator, it is something that is still unbelievable.
Right.
As far away as Nassau, we are feeling it and wondering, how could this happen? Why did it happen?
Right.
What are people saying?
Officers, they don't have a motive as yet. I can tell you today that they do have 2 suspects in custody that were...
So 2 people have been arrested?
2 people have been arrested. 2 men.
Bahamians?
Not sure yet,
not
but
sure.
Right. But two men have been arrested. They've been transported to the capital this morning for further questioning as it relates to that incident.
So they were brought to the capital this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
For further questioning.
Yes.
But police believe they more than likely have the right persons.
Right. And even so, not from police, but the settlement is very small. Like I said, 300 people. Once the victims were able to describe the suspects, many were able to say, I think it's this person.
Wow.
And police went on a manhunt after that incident yesterday. The officer in charge told us that he went from door to door. They told us if there was any tip or any lead, they were following them.
No, I know you don't want to say very much, and I don't blame you because this is an open, fresh, new ongoing investigation.
Right.
But we understand one of the suspects may have even tried to alter his appearance.
Right. The word on the ground is allegedly one of the suspects had locks at the time of the shooting. So in the police report, well, not in the police report, but one of the victims, the one that survived, said a gunman that had locks. Both of the suspects that we saw this morning, bald-headed.
So they quickly went and tried to shave their head.
Right.
But, and that has nothing to do with anything. The police, obviously, as Devontae just told us, have taken into custody 2 men, young men.
2 young men, that's wrong.
2 young men who were now brought to the capital earlier this morning. And so, of course, we will continue to see that. But let's talk about the relationship that these these androgens, because they've been going there for so
Yes,
many years,
yes,
right?
yeah.
And staying months at a time, that they had with the community and how the community saw them and embraced them.
So it was 3 German men. 2 of them were brothers. 182, 184.
Oh my gosh.
The shooting victim, or the victim that died, was 57 years old. To get
These
the 2
men in their golden years, Devontae.
Yes.
So brothers and then the father of one.
You're right.
80s, in their 80s.
80s, 82, 84. One of them has been coming down to the Bahamas since 1976. About twice a year, some residents say they come down every 6 months, maybe spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks down. They had only been in Andros for about a week when this happened. The son that got shot, or that died, I should say, was supposed to leave Andros this morning to head back home. Residents there, they've grown a relationship with them. They've said, you know, this is our family. They call them the Germans, you know. Business owners recall them just coming into their grocery store the day before to buy groceries, which would have been the groceries to host the event the next night.
For the residents.
Right. Other residents would say, you know, these men, every time they come, they'd bring chocolates for my wife. You know, another restaurant owner, he said, you know, those men were just sitting at my bar yesterday drinking clicks. You know, and that's that's just how close they've become to the people in Andros. And many said that, you know, I'm going to do what I can to help police to solve this investigation.
Yeah, because you know, it tarnishes the wonderful, quaint community of Camps Bay.
Right.
It turns people off because then you're wondering really, like, is that a safe place, a safe haven to now go? The house that they were staying in, was it being rented, or that's their house over the years?
That's their home. And I even understand that they have somebody who's employed that lives on the ground.
So they have employed a local.
Right, they've employed a local, and he maintains the yard while they're not there. And when I spoke with him yesterday, because as you know, we did the live drop there from the property, I spoke to him and he said, I'm in fear for my life. Because he was home at the time of the event. He said, I don't know if...
He heard the gunshot.
He heard the gunshots. He was in his home. The house is here and his home is here. He said, I don't know if this guy's gonna come back. We don't know who this is or what could have happened. We don't know why this was done. And that's the reality. The people just can't begin to grasp.
And then
why.
Also, Devontae, in an area as small as that, you then begin to wonder,
right,
who is among us? Because if you all could do this, who is among us? Among these 300 people who know each other, more than likely related to each other,
yes,
married to each other, who is among us that would think and carry out an act such as this?
Right. Some people even went on to say, you know, I don't even know how a gun got in Andros. You know, and I think when we go on the family islands, we're just so used, even us as Nasuvians, we're seeing the police kind of relax because everybody knows everybody. And I even speaking with police yesterday, he said, you know, you'd usually hear about maybe a break-in here or there, but there's nothing
Petty
serious,
theft
right?
Kind of thing.
Stuff like that. But you'd never hear of a murder in Andros. And I remember getting the message that the night before from police saying that there was a homicide. It said that police are now responding to a double shooting in Camps Bay.
No, Camps Bay.
Right.
No, we were all shocked when we saw that.
So when I saw Camp and I said, okay, I got to go to Camp Road to cover this homicide. And then I continued reading and I said, Camps Bay, Andros. And I was like, how often do you hear something like that? You know?
What are police saying, by the way, in terms of reassuring residents and trying to restore that wonderful pristineness that is Camps Bay?
Right. Police, as I mentioned, police are doing their part. They're working as fast as possible. Within 24 hours, have 2 suspects arrested. They've been doing whatever they can. And of course, there is a heightened sense because these are foreigners. These are German nationals. These are tourists. Even though they live here, technically, they're tourists. And so, you know, and the island is now just getting a boost from its bone fishing. So all of these questions.
And that's another thing. I'm happy you mentioned that because bone fishing really is the mainstay in the economy, or of the economy in all of Andros.
Right.
And obviously in South Andros as well, in that area of Camps Bay. But bone fishing is very lucrative. It pays and it keeps the majority of people employed.
Right.
And really does well for the entire island of Andros. And you know, I mean, come on, people. I mean, let's grab hold of and get rid of the riffraff among us, because you are spoiling areas like Camps Bay.
Right. And even so, you're spoiling the entire Bahamas. We already have an issue here in Nassau where the Bahamas is being raided by the U.S. Embassy. Constantly we're getting these alerts because we are considered a high crime area. And now we're seeing that spill over into our family islands, which is so scary when the government is out there marketing these 16 islands and keys. But where do you go in the Bahamas that you could feel completely safe? And you haven't, right.
Before now, Camps Bay.
Right. And you're having these incidents that are happening, and we're just hopeful and prayerful that it doesn't continue. But let's be real, we are now at 114 murders for the year. Last year we were at 119.
Devontae, it's quite sobering, and I thank you for going to Camps Bay and doing an incredible job. Of course, you all would have seen his story just a short while ago on the newscast, with him speaking to people and presenting their thoughts and their views. And you know what? And our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Camps Bay and the country, because this country really needs rescuing, as you said. It really, really does, to restore some sort of peace and order and that tranquility that the Bahamas was once identified by and known for. Certainly, and again, it's just sending great thoughts and prayers to the people of Camps Bay, Andros.
For sure. And the residents there, they said they're gonna gather in prayer, because this is something that they wanna get closure for, as well as this is something that they just want behind them.
And then so so the family had left already. The father and his brother and
one of them, I understand, has returned. He's told his friend who was at the party that I spoke to yesterday to pack up everything.
They're not even interested in, and who could blame them? Who can blame them? It's just too much to even return there. And at 80 something, boy, I tell you, Devontae, again, thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you very, very much. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Social Services talks gender and family affairs. We're back right after this. To be on the headlines. The Department of Social Services has dubbed November as Building and Strengthening the Family Unit, propelling men, women, girls, and boys towards purpose and prosperity in pursuit of economic empowerment for the entire family. And we are going to jump right in right there, because I'm excited to hear exactly how they plan on making that all happen, especially now in inflationary times and, of course, talks of recession that's looming. And so I'm happy to welcome to Beyond the Headlines Debbie Bartlett, who is Managing Consultant with the Department of Social Services, and also Elaine Sands, who is from the Department of Gender and Family Affairs in the department. And, of course, they have a major event coming up on Sunday as well. We'll talk to both ladies about that. But let's just jump right in. First of all, good evening to both of you, and welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening. Good evening.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you all here. Let's just jump right in. It is more important than ever before right now to make a focus on the family so important? We see the eroding of the family. Why this focus this month, and why you think it's so important to kind of really single this out? I guess I'll start with you first, Debbie.
Always great to be here, Shanique. You're doing a great job. I think this is one of the most important decisions that the Minister of Social Services, Urban Development, Department of Gender and Family Affairs could have made. Family comes from the word famulous, to serve. What we must recognize is the people of the Bahamas represent a nation of people whose foundation is strong family. Somehow along the way, we have lost sight of the values that made us great. There was a declaration over this country that this country, the Bahamas, will be the strongest nation in the world. We have lost sight of who we are. You're talking about Andros and the murder. I remember, I'm young enough, old enough to remember when all of the Bahamas lived as a village where we helped each other succeed, where we would share our pots, where we would leave our doors open. I remember when the first murder happened in Elizabeth down there in Yellow Elder, and it was the horror that captured our hearts, and now we've become numb. So
you were saying the way everybody feels about Camps Bay and my God, the unfortunate incident that happened there this week. You were saying when that happened in Yellow Elder, as the first on record in the country in terms of when you all started reporting, a minute ago, that it was that kind of a response.
Yes, and we have to be very careful that we are not numbed again as crime creeps into the family islands. So we have to get back to where we began. There is no wealthy, stable, prosperous country in the world that has sustained success without strong family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you think is responsible for where the family is right now? I mean, you can't even identify the family, and this is generalizing, of course, because there are awesome examples around us. But overall, this, whatever has taken over in terms of, you don't know sometimes who the parent is. Half of the parent unit is missing from households. And then for those who are there, let's say single parent homes who led mainly by mothers, it is just absolutely out of whack and out of sync. What's led to that?
There's no freedom without the boundaries of values. If we look at every country that fails, just look at the family falling apart. We have and had parents that taught us to dream big, to prepare for the future. They fought to ensure that we could pursue education. There was a season when my grandfather would say, we're gonna have our children go to St. John's, move from West End, and their children will go into university. Without vision, the people throw off restraint. If you talk to the average family today, they do not have the dream that that young lady has who's now Bahamian going into space. There are not enough environments.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that?
When are we going to dream like that again? Exactly.
We dream like that again. That was the norm in the country. But those people who have no value to life is evidence that they have not been bonded with and by love. So there's no relationship and no feeling. Can I tell a quick story, Janique? This guy named Beaker, he died, was murdered just the other day, just before or during the pandemic. And he said to me one day, he said, why don't you let me help you clean up the streets, because my generals have no value for life. I know I'm going to hell backwards, but at the darkest part of hell. And I said, Biko, why would you say that? Why don't you just stop? He said, well, what is the difference? The difference is I kill with the gun and the executives kill with the pen. So they don't see a way out of the hopelessness. When people are just unbridled with how we treat each other, there's evidence that there's not enough hope. What we are doing in the Department of Gender and Family Affairs, we are mobilizing hope and will deliver more opportunities.
This is incredibly important right now, and I 100% support that message, that vision that the Department of Family is embarking on under the Department of Social Services, because it's hugely important. Elaine, as a former senior police officer, what can you say in terms of the breakdown you've seen? You're a veteran person in this community. You've watched it all sort of, I guess, just break down. What can you say in terms of how the family has ended up where it has in this country?
Values and principles, they are broken. And this is the reason why. This is the focus of the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. And I just wanted to make a correction that whatever's happening here today with I and Debbie, we come under the Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development. That's where the minister sits, who is Minister Obi Virchcom. And we are here to promote the family. Also, we are here to promote an entertainment. It's a exhibition that is supposed to be put on for the suffrage movement on Sunday coming at 3:30 p.m.
Well, the way you just kind of shifted this, I really wanted to kind of delve into what your main thrust is and then get into that event on Sunday. But by all means then, jump right in. Tell us more about that.
Well, November is the 60th anniversary for women voting in the Bahamas. And so today this is what is our main focus, so that we can promote the exhibition which is happening down in Rawson Square. We're going to display all of those women who are part of the suffragettes movement and other diverse women from different backgrounds. And so we came here to encourage all families to come out and enjoy what is going to happen there. You know, these women were strong women. They showed values, they showed principles, and they fought hard for women to vote. And so right now, this is the reason why you, Shanique, can become, you can be here as a journalist. We can be in government, find our way in government, and so forth.
And various areas of whatever you want to do, quite
and become
frankly.
entrepreneurs because
Yeah,
of
whatever it
how
is
hard,
you want to see,
how
see
very
yourself
hard
doing.
these women fought for us.
Who are some of the women that are being recognized?
Well, there's going to be a display of all of the suffragettes, and we are encouraging all their families to come out.
Who
Also,
are some of these women?
Mary Ingram, Eugenia Lockhart, and all of the 5 suffragettes. Also, there will be displaying our Governor Generals, the First Attorney General, and so forth.
Debbie, what can women and families learn from those who will be recognized and celebrated on Sunday?
Well, I think it all still turns to family, because these are women. The women suffragettes had the courage. They were backing their husbands, let us not forget. Because when we had great women like Doris Johnson, who fought for some of the things that we are still fighting for. It's amazing to know that Doris Johnson got up in the House of Assembly and was fighting against the fact that there were all male juries. She fought that the delinquent young girls, 8, 9, 10, and 11, were going to prison. What kind of thing is that? And they were talking about how the rehabilitation. But at some point, they recognized that there had to be a shift in focus in terms of boundaries for politics, but to make sure that women were empowered through the right to vote. And so we had then this right. But listen, what we must see, in my humble opinion, that the Progressive Liberal Party and later on the United Bahamian Party came together and voted in the House to give us that right to vote. But it was the women and the labor movement who insisted, who rallied, and guess what? When we talking about voting, the vote is to have a voice in how the nation is built. And our founding fathers, in the initial stages of our development and our political development, when they did away with the right to vote as property and gave the 5-year terms, guess what? They gave a vision. The vision for the country was, and hence we would see in our theme this year, and moving towards the empowerment, they gave us a vision. The vision was to become economically independent. Incorporated in the theme this year, we're talking about building and strengthening families, and we have to say who our target market is in terms of propelling the men, the women, the girls, the boys towards purpose. If you know your purpose,
That's right.
you're not going to be distracted.
And you know what's incredible, Debbie, back then, Annie Lane, those women knew purpose. Yes, it was different. The focus was different. The fight was different because they were building a nation and setting a nation and putting structure in place. But again, the family was intact, and that is how those women were even more able to go out and make this change and fight for equality and rights as they did and are now today among our heroes.
Yeah, and Debbie, I just would like to call the names of all of the women suffragettes, and that's Mary Ingram, Eugenia Lockhart, Georgina Simonet, Miss Mabel Walker, and Dame Doris Johnson. And so for Sunday coming at 3:30 p.m., there will be a suffragettes exhibition in Rawson Square. Okay, we will see all of the trials and tribulation those women went through. It will be displayed. All of their successes will be displayed. And so we're asking the entire public in the Bahamas to come out, especially their family members.
We have 18 featured. We know that we have more than 400 women who signed so that we can have that right to vote. But listen, greatness comes when we live in three tenses: the past, the present, and the future. Let's honor our women suffragettes. I mean, they were courageous, they were bold, they stood, they succeeded. And what I think is another very powerful and successful and different approach to Elaine, who has done a phenomenal job in spearheading, and the entire team there at the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. It is a joy to work with them. They are really hardworking. But this is an angle that is very important. They have taken the time to follow the DNA of the suffragettes, and we can see that the suffragettes, we have the Honorable Janet Bostwick, and we can see how her daughter and her son is following in line. Or we know that the ambassador to UNESCO and former minister Hope Strawn out. Let's look at the chairman of the University of the Bahamas. She is a second generation and former attorney general. And these are things that when we know what our responsibility is to our family, then we can have the hope to drive on and to build, because this country will be the best country in the world.
Absolutely. We have a really good lineup, Shanique, a good lineup of speakers. And after the opening ceremony at the end, after cutting the ribbon for the exhibition, there will also be being featured our women artists. And
like who, for example?
Like Sweet Emily, like Ilsha.
No, go ahead.
Like Sweet Emily, Ilsha. We also have a young lady she will be conducting the monologue. And also we will have a female artist on site who will be sketching those suffragettes. So there are a number.
So as the event is going on, there's this artist who's going to be sketching and that kind of thing while everything is happening. What time does it get started? And again, tell us where, and obviously for people to just come out and be able to just sort of take a walk through history all over again and become familiar with these stories again.
Yes, that is correct. At 3:30 p.m., the opening ceremony begins in Rawson Square, and we will have all of those women featured in Parliament Square. And so there will be a ceremony at first. After the ceremony, there is this evening concert with a few women artists. We also have.
So it starts from 3:30 and goes straight into the evening.
3:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Awesome. I am grateful to you guys, ladies, for coming and really kind of sort of, talking about this event, something that is enshrined in our history. Oftentimes we kind of forget it, and it's good to kind of revisit it again and display it in the nation's, the center of the city where business happens and obviously laws are made, and it's right there that we're going to be able to take a walk through history and honor these amazing women, many of whom weren't mentioned in this show, but certainly will be on display there. And also congratulations on your theme for this November and beyond, I imagine, but certainly this focus in on the family that is absolutely needed right now and really very necessary. I thank you very much, Debbie Bartlett and Elaine Sands, both really from the Ministry of Social Services and the different departments that they represent, but certainly, of course, under that umbrella. Congratulations to you, your team, the ministry as well, for beginning to create new dialogue and a new focus, a new narrative in a country that desperately needs it right now. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. When we come back, the Ministry of Youth is here, and they're talking about, we're just coming out of National Youth Month. Well, they're also talking about the National Youth Guard. I'm interested in knowing what that's about. Stay exactly where you are. Beyond the Headlines comes back right after this.
My name
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Well, from a focus on the family in the Ministry of Social Services to the Ministry of Youth and a focus on youth specifically, it is really amazing what the Ministry of Youth is doing, and that is the launch of a new program that really kind of reaches out and brings youth on board. And so the program is called the Bahamas National Youth Guard, and I'm super excited to hear what it's about and exactly how it plans on being rolled out and how you plan on reaching youth and targeting certain segments of society among, and in particular, those youth, young people. And I'm happy to have on the show this evening to talk about this program that is going to be launched very, very soon. Kenneth Fraser and Brian Bain, both youth officers in the Ministry of Youth. Gentlemen, thank you for being here on Beyond the Headlines. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I smile widely because, we started the show talking about what took place in Camps Bay, Andros. So unfortunate. The second segment, we had the Department of Social Services here talking about a focus on the family and, of course, their event that's happening on Sunday. And now you are here to talk about the launch of the Bahamas National Youth Guard. I would like, I think, Brian, it's you, because, you wear a couple hats.
Yes.
Right?
A multitude.
I know, a multitude of hats. Let's just talk about this program, what it's intended to do, and who exactly is going to be targeted and how soon.
The National Youth Guard is a new initiative that is primarily supposed to hit the ages of 19 to 25, our youth, and it's supposed to allow them to develop skills and develop patriotism and service and nation building even in the time of disasters, preparing them to be a help and an aid. Dorian has taught us that, boy, you could never have too many individuals on the ground and boots on the ground. So what we want to do is equip our youth to aid in the times of disaster. And they would be able, with skills such as captain's license, they would be firefighting, rescue, those type of skills, and they would be able to help and assist in a time of disaster. And they would be, and there's another component to this thing. There is not a mentorship, an internship. So it also open doors to them.
So they are going to, once trained,
yes, ma'am,
then they will be sort of funneled into different areas to get that experience.
Yeah. I kind of jumped ahead, but this entails is that you would come in, and as you volunteer, this is a paid stipend. You volunteer, we bring you in for 3 months of training, and it's intense training with the various different skills, plus a few more skills that I've listed earlier. And also the next 3 months, we have a number of partners, where they be governmental partners or they be corporate partners who are partnering with us, and they would open their doors to have internships and place these young men and young ladies for another 3 months for 3 months of internship. So that's 3 months intensive training, 3 months internship, and during this internship they would just really learn how to do things and how to become acclimated to just real life and what it would be into being in a disaster area or whatever. And at this time, it would open doors and allow them to be able to make opportunities for themselves, because now you are trained and you have inroads into knowing the various different departments. And so it helps the nation, but also helps our youth themselves become marketable for employment.
Really awesome. Great to hear. Kenneth, talk about this training. What does it involve, especially the initial first 3 months of training, which of course you all heard, there's a stipend attached. But certainly, let's talk about this training.
All right. Thank you, Shani. The training starts in January, and it's a 3 months training, like Brian said. The training includes, discipline training includes CERT certifications, includes...
CERT, you said?
CERT. It's
CERT.
Yeah, CERT is one of the NEMA certifications. It includes boat captain license. It includes a few other certifications, risk assessments. We want to make sure that the persons not only gain skills where they can help in a disaster, but they can also use these skills to find employment, to do other things in their life beyond this program.
All these skills now, I mean, I imagine they can embrace and seek out opportunities sort of almost anywhere and be successful at becoming gainfully employed.
Yeah, these are specialty skills. So these are not skills that you find, just lying around. So now you're cut above the rest, and you are marketable. And one of the things I think you were talking about earlier, when you were talking about the nation and the crime and all that, the Bible says, hope defers make the heart sick.
Yes.
And the heart sick is not just in depression, but the heart sick is in depravity. When I feel like I have no hope to make ends meet for myself, or I feel like I have no hope of coming out of the situation that I'm in.
Something you're working towards and aiming for, that too,
I have no objective, no focus.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't come out of where I'm at. Then I'm going to end up being depraved, and I'm going to take yours because you have what I want. So I have no hope of coming out other than taking yours and stepping on you. So now we're giving young people and youth the opportunity to make their own sunshine and to make themselves marketable. And this is a golden opportunity.
I think this is amazing, and
yes, that's
congratulations
phenomenal.
to you all for this, because we have heard for eons about a national program. Well, this is sort of a variation of that. Is it going to be mandatory? Who are you targeting first? Do you already have your first enrollees? How is this? Because this is being officially rolled out in January.
Yes.
Where does this stand now in terms of who's being targeted, or is it mandatory for the 19 to 25-year-olds of who maybe are just sitting there?
Well, let me say it's not 19, it's 18.
Oh, 18.
We started 18, so as soon as you become an adult legally, you can apply for the program. There's no mandatory for you to sign up. Once you sign up and you do the training, we require you to sign a contract to say that if we need you to serve, you're willing to serve. That's the only mandatory part of it. But to sign up, it's fully voluntary. We want people who actually want to give service to their communities, because we realize that we're going to need those persons to act in that time of need.
step
We
up,
need,
yeah.
So we want to have persons who actually thinking about this kind of thing. We realized where Dorian occurred that we had a lot of people on the ground, but a lot of people didn't know what to do. So this is a goal for us to actually help have citizens on the ground so that they can help not just react when something happens, but help mitigate certain things. They would be in the area and be able to assess the area and realize, oh, certain trees need to be moved, certain shelters need to be repaired.
Like you say, equipped and trained.
Exactly.
Even perhaps with some tools to be able to step in, because, you know, let's say in times of, and I hate to even think of it, but in times of natural disasters, you know, not everybody can go and try remove a tree or the flooded areas and wade through water. So these people will be equipped. Imagine then, gentlemen, if you have several in every area, then obviously that is the goal, eh?
That's the goal. It's the goal of this is to be a national youth guard and not a Nassau youth guard, because too long we focus everything on New Providence. But what our goal is to make sure that we have people from the entire Bahamas. And why is this advantageous? It's advantageous because then you know the area that you're in. If we have, let's just say, God forbid, that there's a disaster in Rum Key, we have people preferably from Rum Key, from that area, who knows exactly the terrain, who knows the infrastructure, who knows how to respond, because we've equipped them. And now, Kenneth had talked about the willing to respond. It's a 2-year cycle. So after we train you for 3 months, then there's an internship for another 3 months. Then for 2 years, you're on call. We can call you, and don't. Some people may feel like, if you're listening to me, that there is nothing that would bar you from serving. It's almost like jury duty, where, you know, when you receive jury duty, your employer understands that this is a civic duty. This is something that, you know, you're nation building. So, you know, it's kind of smooth out with that. There's no penalties. There's no repercussions from that. And we will also pay you the stipend again as you're being called on to serve. And
that's amazing, and it gives people, I'll tell you this, you know, everybody feels good to know that they're doing their part.
Yeah.
And and imagine being trained then to perform the service and actually do your part. And so let's talk about training officers. You mentioned Rum Key. So in every island, I think Javante nicely let us know it's 16 inhabited ones. I thought it used to be 17, but in every island, there will be this training will be happening. Is that it?
No, the goal of it is to bring everybody in on
so
a particular,
to
one location to do most of the training and complete the training in their islands, so they would know how to react in their particular environment. But the initial part of it is we can bring everybody together, do a basic training where everybody has basically the same skills, and then the last part of the training is in those regions, so those persons would know how to enable that same training in their environments.
That is amazing. Sounds incredible. Yeah. How can people reach out to your department to be able to inquire more, to register, to obviously register their interest in wanting to be selected, even in this first stint?
Okay. You go, Brian.
Okay, good. We have a website. You can also register on Facebook, the Department of Youth 242.
That's the name of the Facebook page.
The name of the Facebook page.
Say it again.
Department of Youth 242. Division of Youth. Sorry.
So it's Division of Youth,
not Department.
242.
Division of Youth 242.
And the number 242.
Yeah, the number
Division
242.
of Youth 242. Remember that.
Yeah. And also we have a website, and the website is what is it, Kenneth?
nyg.bahamas.gov.bs.
So say it again. Say it again.
NYG, National Youth Guard, .bahamas.gov.bs. And
you all heard
the
that?
application form is on there. It's simple to fill out. The only documents you need to apply is a government issue ID, your NIB, and a police record. Those 3 things.
And so say the website again.
It's nyg.bahamas.gov.bs.
And the Facebook page?
Division of Youth 242. That's it.
Division of Youth 242.
One last thing I want to say, that we do have a tight deadline because we're trying to get this ready for January. So applications close November 15th.
Oh, you guys heard that?
Yes.
You have
so you gotta get it in as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think
and the first 100 is the ones that we're going to take. The first 100 applicants is what we're going to take. In this cohort, you can apply for the next cohort.
Obviously, it's ongoing, so, but you get in, man, make history. How about that? And so once again, you heard the website, you heard the Facebook page, message them, do what you need to do to be able to get in, fill out that application, and make history. Make history and do something good and rewarding and fulfilling. That too is fulfilling and give you hope and inspiration to know that you're doing something and you're trained to do it. Really, really awesome. I'll tell you this, I want you guys to come back. Even after the 15th, once everything is in, to talk about the success of it, the fact that people have applied to be a part of it, and talk about what's going to be on tap. And of course, in January, as the training is about to get started or has already started, come back and keep this going. Let people know what's going on, what good is happening in the nation, and what that the Ministry of Youth is doing.
And we need to do this because whatever you magnify, it's going to multiply. And so magnify the good, magnify what youth are doing that are making an impact, becoming a part of nation building and not tearing it down. And as a descendant of Mangrove Key Andres, I just want to say that what took place over the other day was disheartening, but there's a lot of good taking place in Andres.
A lot. I agree, and this is what we want to help highlight as well. And certainly on this platform, I'm certainly a proponent of highlighting what good is happening. And so again, it's been you guys, you gentlemen, both of you, Kenneth and Brian, come back and let's talk about this incredible historic program that is sort of a variation of the national service. But hey, we're starting here, and who knows, it mushroom into becoming a full-fledged national service. Gentlemen, I thank you once again. Congratulations to your area in the Ministry of Youth, and looking forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. Let's be further inspired. Your Minute of Inspiration with Mount Tabor Church is straight ahead.
For example, when it comes to our physical healing and health, we don't need to ask God to heal us if it's your will. All through the scripture, you can say it's God's will. 14 times in the scripture, the Bible says, and he healed all who were sick. I can't find one scripture where Jesus turned someone away and didn't heal them. He didn't always heal them the same way, but he healed them all. God has a will for your life. And ladies and gentlemen, if God has a will for your life, it seems to me like he wouldn't hide it from you. And if God wants you to know his will for your life more than you desire to know it, he will reveal it. But I need you to know, for the most part, he reveals his will for your life in his word. It's very important for you to know that the will of God is not a warranty from God that you will have no challenges. This is where I prepare to close now. Doing the will of God is not always comfortable. If you don't believe me, ask me. Doing the will of God is not always exciting. Doing the will of God does not always bring you pleasure, because the will of God for your life is sent to pull you to the place where you need to be in order to do the things that God has assigned to your hands.
And thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope you certainly enjoyed this show and took some notes and got the information you needed from everything that was shared. Certainly we enjoyed having you here, and on behalf of the entire Beyond the Headlines team, make it a great weekend and see you on Monday.
The Verizon